People, Deluded, I'm back again. As usual, big up all of you lot for tuning in. Again, it's transfer news business where we're concerned. Allow me to share my screen with you lot and we'll go over what's currently in the tabloids concerning Arsenal Football Club. If you haven't smashed the like button, make sure you're doing such. Now, the first is a piece on The Athletic, which at the time of making this video, as you can see there, came out 3 hours ago. Arsenal's transfer deal sheet, Sesko, Zubimendi and other options. We've heard these names several times. How do you improve on a record-breaking season? By winning the league. Now, again, let's skip through the tosh. Big up The Athletic and you lot tuning in, but we're all well aware of the various statistics Arsenal obviously broke last season. The upward trajectory individually our players are on and collectively under Mikel Arteta, and ultimately it led to nothing. We did win the English Super Cup shamelessly in August, but we didn't win anything of significance where the FA Cup, Champions League or Premier League are concerned. We all know, people, that we have one of the smallest squads in the league. Mikel Arteta himself said that. So let's skip through the tosh, people. Apparently, Arsenal have demonstrated the capacity to go about their work undetected. The signing of Kiwior in January 2023 was all but agreed before international media caught wind of it. That's great. Scrolling all the way down, what positions are they looking at this summer? After Arsenal's elimination against Bayern Munich in the Champions League quarterfinals, the feeling amongst the hierarchy was that the team lacked a certain X factor in attack, something special to unlock defenses on the biggest occasions, which we all could see. With the greatest of respect to our players, they're tried and untested at that level. You know, obviously Kai Havertz and Jorginho are Champions League winners, but you know, where you, and this kind of ties into why I would like a striker and another winger. I think my team has the capacity to score goals. For the last 2 years in particular, we've done that, you know, really and truly we can score goals. But I know next season we're going to score goals. I just don't know who. You know, in the last 2 years, Jesus has scored goals and then not scored goals. Trossard the same. Odegaard's not quite got the goals he had of last season, although they're there. Obviously, Kai Havertz was a breath of fresh air after 2024 came. The only one you can look at and you can say, okay, in August, you know, if like in August of 2024, in May of 2025, who do I expect to have double figures? It's probably only Bukayo Saka. And we do miss those sort of X factor kind of players. Of course, it's easier said than done. You know, the Vinicius Juniors, the Rodrigos, the, you know, Mbappe's, the Neymars. You get where I'm going with that. We do need that. Now, that carries a big price tag. Maybe we could develop that within ourselves. But we do miss that. But I think that's almost the creme de la creme. We've got a good foundation. Now it's about strengthening those foundations. And for me, central midfield, definitely another striking option. If you can, another wide option to provide competition / complement the Trossards, the Martinellis and Bukayo Sakas. Another versatile defender wouldn't go amiss, people. Since last summer, Arsenal have had the notion that this year's priority would be to add a new central forward. The form of Kai Havertz, and actually if you've seen Havertz's interview, he basically said, I'm a striker now, particularly when operating as a striker, has reduced the urgency somewhat, which I think is dangerous because Kai Havertz, I hope you keep doing it, but there's a lot of unanswered questions really. Have the best of both worlds, have another attacking striker option, another winger, and hope the existing options keep doing what they're doing and go to, you know, to better form really and truly. You know, it's fair to say the Kai Havertz central mid experiment is dead in the water now. I hope to be wrong. I hope one day I wake up and he looks like Tony Kroos, Bastian Schweinsteiger, or Michael Ballack in the middle of the park, you know, to coin some Germans. But it's not him. He can play there, but there's nothing of significance really and truly. I think when he's kind of in this false nine where he's a target man, where he can make late runs and evidently score goals, drop into midfield, make tactical fouls, I think that's Kai Havertz, people. And I think we'll be making a dangerous mistake if we don't, you know, complement. I don't want to say upgrade because I like what Kai Havertz is doing. He's proven a lot of people wrong, but we still need another guy. You know, there's a lot of romance throughout the season, but when it's crunch time, unfortunately, you see the levels really. Nevertheless, they're still prepared to go into the market for the right number 9. They're also open to improving in other attacking positions if they identify a player who can bring a new dimension to their game. That's fair enough. In midfield, Arsenal's recruitment priorities will be determined by a decision on Declan Rice's role in the team. Again, he can play as an 8 and a number 6. He made his name as a 6. You've seen Mikel Arteta make him an 8. I do think long term we'll have, with Declan Rice, 2 multifunctional people behind Martin Odegaard. So whether you got to bring a 6 or an 8, do what needs to be done. I would love another rotationary 6. You know, you look at games like the North London derby at the Emirates. The minute Declan Rice came on, we was in trouble. My preference immediately, if we could only have one, would be someone more closely aligned to what Granit Xhaka was doing in the team before he left. So a number 8, people. Again, I'm trying to skip through the toss, people. As of yet, there's not been a clear decision on Rice's role in the team. It may be that Arsenal kept their options open, intending to recruit a player with versatility to grant Arteta even greater tactical flexibility. Now, it's a twofold. I think Arteta wants to kind of develop Rice in that eight, or even if you play six, you have to more kind of play a Rodri six than a conventional six, if that makes sense. So I think he wants to make him an eight. I think he is a six, but I do think because of the injuries and the inconsistencies with who is going to partner Declan Rice between Martin Odegaard, I think he's probably had to play as that six more so than not. At present, it seems as if Arsenal may be leaning towards keeping Rice in the eight role. He flourished there during the run-in, and what's more, the club feel the market of number eights is difficult this summer. Fair enough, it kind of is. Another position that is in focus is left back. Now, this is interesting because you've got Timber, who can play a bunch of roles as well as there. You've got Tomiyasu. Technically, I know we'll get onto him. You've got Zinchenko, and obviously Kirill can deputise there, even though I think he's at the bottom of the pile. Been linked with Hato, been linked with Faye of Barcelona, been linked with people that can play left back and more conventional, out and out organic fullbacks people. But again, The Athletic is the latest publication that's kind of confirmed that we're looking at a left back. So there's got to be fuel to that fire. Arteta had a variety of options in this position during the season just gone, but did not appear particularly convinced by them. The return to fitness of Timber provides yet another alternative, but Arsenal are continuing to monitor the market for a specialist, so out and out left back, really. Technically, we do have Kieran Tierney. We all know David Raya's move is going to be made permanent. The current focus in the forward line is RB Leipzig's 21-year-old Benjamin Cesco. The Sevilla international has a release clause in his contract, believed to be in the fee of the region of 65 million euros, in brackets 53.3 million pounds. Cesco has attracted significant interest from elsewhere in the Premier League and Europe, but the feeling among other clubs is that if Cesco is to move, then Arsenal are in pole position, which that's music to my ears, but it's not done until it's done. Until he's pictured at the Emirates and London Coley saying, I watched Thierry Henry growing up holding scarves and fans tracking flights and whatnot. Easier said than done. We've been here with the Mudryk stuff. Apparently, we followed him very closely during his time in the Austrian Bundesliga, and whether it's the youth league, whether it's at Salzburg, whether it's the season that's just gone, particularly towards the end, Sesko is going to draw attention. Apparently, it's felt the 6'5" centre forward would make for an effective alternative to Havertz. Although Arsenal have been linked with Isak and have a long-standing interest in the player, no developments are expected. Newcastle United's position is the player is not for sale, and it would take a huge sum of money for that commitment to waver. Again, when you look at our budget, it's unrealistic to probably expect, us to sign Isak for 100 million and go after people in other areas. If Arsenal opt to pursue a wide forward, there is long-term interest in Pedro Neto of Wolves, music to my ears, Nico Williams as well, people. Obviously, Neto's injury record goes against him, where there's some rumours that say, a bit like Oshimen, Nico Williams' wage demands are a bit unrealistic. We know we've been linked with Martin Zubimendi. Some reports say he doesn't want to sign for Arsenal. Some say the deal's back on. Again, we're taking around the houses, people. Apparently, Arteta is a keen admirer of his talent, as is his friend and fellow manager Xabi Alonso. The difficulty may be persuading Zubimendi to leave the Basque region. Although he has a release clause in his contract worth 50 million, he has thus far expressed no desire to leave his hometown. Arsenal are also among the Premier League clubs interested in Benfica's 19-year-old João Neves, but again, it's going to cost a lot of money, and I've done a video on him, so check that out. He's likely to have a number of high-profile suitors this summer after a breakout season with his club. We all know we've got an interest in Bruno Guimaraes. You've got until the end of June to activate his 100 million release clause, which is easier said than done. Zubimendi and Neves are seen primarily as holding midfielders. A new number 8 remains on Arsenal's radar, but the club feel there are relatively few suitable options on the market. Players like Frankie de Jong, who's at Barcelona under new management, and Lucas Paqueta, who, let alone move him, might not be able to play football. Apparently, the FA want to ban him for life, really. The acquisition of a number 9 could allow Havertz to play more games in midfield, while Ethan Nwaneri is also expected to feature more often next season, hopefully. One player Arsenal have been considering at left back is Jarell Hato. Again, it's been revealed we've got a long-term interest in him. Although he most commonly plays at centre-half, he has features as a left back and has the attributes to fit Arteta's vision for the role. Obviously, he turned 18 in March. He's now eligible to move to the Premier League. He signed a new deal until 2028. We have a good relationship, allegedly, with Ajax, so let's watch that space. We've been linked with Feyenoord's Justin Bujlo, who has 2 years left on his deal, and said he remains committed to Feyenoord, but naturally, if offers, whether that be from Liverpool, who are linked with him, or Arsenal, he'll keep it moving, people. We'll have to see. Our goalkeeping coach, Inaki Kanya, might prove decisive. If Kanya is convinced by Bridgelow, sources close to the situation who asked to remain anonymous to protect relationships, suggest he could be acquired for little more than 10 million euros. So if you sell Ramsdale for 30 plus, he comes in as his replacement for 10 million euros plus or odd. We're doing all right, people, if we're honest. And as we know, Edu has to be on the case. We all know Zinchenko, Partey, Jesus, Eddie Nketiah, Reece Nelson. Eddie Nketiah, Reece Nelson, and Smith Rowe actually are longest serving players, but we all know Eddie Nketiah, Nelson, Ramsdale, Lokonga, Tierney, Zinchenko, Partey, Jesus, and players not said there will probably move on in the summer if offers are paid, people. We all know the profit and sustainability rule is something all clubs are going to have to tread carefully. Most importantly, the budget. The 2023-24 season was another lucrative run for Arsenal. Their return to the Champions League meant they received more than 90 million euros in revenue from that competition alone. The owners are expected to make significant funds available to strengthen the squad. Music to my ears. Once again, we've been linked with Douglas Luiz, who has a contract until 2026. Manchester United, Liverpool, Juventus have joined Arsenal in the race for him. Easier said than done, though, because, you know, I'm sure they want to keep him because they're in the Champions League for the upcoming season. DiMarzio on Oshimen has said, we assume he's going to leave Napoli. At the moment, there's only Arsenal showing interest, who are still far away from his release clause. And apparently, people, he is waiting on an offer of such people. But apparently, his annual wage is set to rise to an astounding 10 million, people, which is 160k a week, which could create problems in the club's wage bill. Osman and his agents are trying to weigh up the next best club for him, and he's reportedly open to welcome offers from Saudi Arabia should adequate resources to match his contract demands. Fair enough. A move to Arsenal would be ideal, however, and it would be interesting to see whether they launch a bid for him in the coming weeks. Eddie Nketiah has been linked with Wolves, Fulham, Everton, Ipswich, and Crystal Palace in the last 72 hours, people. And apparently, we did cover this yesterday. Napoli would be keen to take either Emil Smith-Rowe or Tomiyasu in a potential deal for Oshimen, people. On Smith-Rowe, Dean Jones has said he would be a good signing for Fulham and is one of the players that is likely to leave Arsenal this summer, but there's no way that you'd be able to sign a player like that without some sort of competition. And I've heard Crystal Palace might be interested too. He's a very good player, technically smart, and I think because of his injury layoff, it's been forgotten just how good he really is. But obviously, Arsenal at a stage where they have to keep evolving. With 2 years left on his deal, there's interest. It'll be interesting to see what's going on there. Arsenal could lose Eddie Nketiah, with Fulham reportedly ready to offer the club around 30 million, while Crystal Palace, Wolves, and Everton are all interested in the 25-year-old, people, who got 5 goals and 2 assists in 27 games for Arsenal, people. Jose Mourinho has said he wants to keep hold of Ferdi Kalagoglu, people. Again, keeping up the themes with left backs. He's been linked with us, the young man, really and truly, for 30 million. There's got to be some degree of truth because he's always linked with us. But it just reminds me of when we was linked with young Fresneda. Arteta has said, people, the uncertainty about his long-term future at Arsenal keeps him on his toes, people. Let's see exactly what the gaffer said. In football, it's about what's going to do today, what you hopefully can do tomorrow. In this profession, having this uncertainty is quite helpful. At least it motivates me, keeps me on my toes, and keeps me hungry to go again. We have a great relationship with everyone at the football club. I'm really happy where I am, and things will take care of themselves by God's grace. You know, for some people, you know, I do think where you look at Arsenal's situation, you've got people that, you know, we could finish, people that will find positives where there's none and forget that we're in the process to win, even though the gaffer says such. I do think some Arsenal fans, if I'm honest, are glorified losers in how they carry themselves, let alone trophies. And I do think there's them unnecessary negative ones that are without logic. I think the truth is in the middle. What I would say is Mikel Arteta himself says we won't win. Well, second place is first loser. Obviously, we're on an upward trajectory. There are many elements of us having pride with our season. But, in terms of history, nobody is going to remember us 20 years, 30 years from now about coming second to Man City, unless these next 2 years are the building blocks in what would be another documentary when we do win a Premier League or Champions League. Don't forget to smash the like button. But I love Mikel Arteta when he speaks like this. He said, I'm a winner. It takes me a while when I don't reach the dreams. We should be proud of what we've done throughout this season, both in European competition and the Premier League. But that feeling of being disappointed and not having the Premier League in our hands is painful. Now, I can't disagree with anything he said there. We've gone over the Isaac thing. We all know we're trying to get Benjamin Sesko. at the football club, people. So we'll have to see exactly what's going on in that regards. Arsenal plan to accept offer for unhappy Zinchenko in this upcoming transfer market, people. Apparently, you know, Bayern Munich are interested in him. He's got 2 years left on his deal and he's fallen. I won't quite say he's falling down the pecking order because I don't necessarily believe that. If I was the manager, which I'm not, then for me, Tomiyasu and Timber would feature a lot more heavily than them, especially Timber, because yeah, he's not quite as good on the ball organically as Zinchenko, because he's a number 10, number 8 by trade. There isn't much fall off, and where you might lose a bit there, he's dramatically better than him defensively, and he still gives us another option. Tomiyasu's defensively solid, so those two are ahead in the pecking order for me, if I'm honest. If you bring in another left back, Zinchenko falls down the pecking order. But what we can't denounce is, for all the cons, I think the pros are becoming diminished, but for all the cons in his defensive game, he does give us a lot in the middle of the park, so that could bump him up. I actually think Kirill is the lowest on the left back pecking order, if I'm honest, excluding Tierney, because he's not at the club, with the greatest of respect. I do think fans need to be a bit careful because, you know, we finished second twice. We've got a bit of stability. It's not FIFA. We're not going to sell 7 players and bring in 7. And even if you do that, you're going to have to give them time to get up to speed with what Arteta demands, and you're going to kind of have to temper your expectations, you know. And I'm not saying these things are wrong, but the logic around, for me, you know, again, I'm not saying these players can't leave, but collectively, you know, some people would sell Gabriel Jesus, sell Partey, sell Zinchenko. You're losing a lot of experience in that regards, people. But if there's offers made for Zinchenko, let's keep it moving, especially because as we went over, if we're bringing in another left back, you keep it moving. But again, as we know, there's a lot of speculation, and I feel where Zinchenko's got 2 years left on his deal, like Smith-Rowe, so you never know. But I think you have to judge the Arsenal outgoings a bit differently. I think you've got the Tierneys, the Nketiahs, the Nelsons, the Lokongas, club players that the club might be more actively trying to push out, Tavares, people of that ilk. Then I think you've got, on paper, you know, even I don't agree with it, but Fabio Vieira, Zinchenko, Smith-Rowe, Jesus, Partey, offers that if the club, you know, get offers, they'll consider them, but they won't actively force them out, really and truly. In relation to the young phase at Barcelona and been linked with us, I've covered this before, and I've also done a tactical video on him. Check that out. He has in his mind to leave Barcelona this summer. Liverpool, Man United, Inter and Bayern Munich are all showing a lot of interest in the player. However, Arsenal have burst strongly onto the case in recent hours, and he's also still been linked with Nice and Lens, 2 clubs who allegedly made offers with him. He's been linked with Bayern Leverkusen as well. Allegedly, the Zubimendi deal is back on, as this says here, people. I'm not too sure. PSG allegedly are out of the race for Oshimen. Again, we probably know where Bruno Guimaraes and Isaac are concerned. We're not getting none of the Newcastle boys. So we'll have to see. We had a 40 million euro bid allegedly rejected for Rafinha, who you're seeing Saudi clubs are willing to bid 100 million for him. Guendouzi returning to the Premier League. He has been linked with Aston Villa, and he's also been linked with Juventus, the former Arsenal man. So yeah, young former departed Arsenal youngster Waters is wanted by Rangers. That could be a good move for him. David Raya's move will be made permanent soon. We've gone over Diamande, a player that we've had a lot of interest in. Apparently Sporting are willing to drop his price tag to 50 to 60 million euros, which is, you know, a bit of a discount on the 80 million euros release clause he has in his contract. Allegedly, we're back in for Zubimendi. It's a bit boring with the Zubimendi case now. Can we just shut it closely, people? And obviously, we've confirmed our departures list, people. So there you have it. Fabrizio Romano has spoken about Smith-Rowe. We continue to hear reports on Arsenal's outgoings, and one name attracting particular interest is Emile Smith-Rowe. I can confirm, as the Telegraph reported, he's one of the names that Fulham mentioned internally during a meeting to plan for the summer window. I mean, whatever Fulham want, add an extra 10 million, because you lot took 4 points off us in the title race, innit? So we need an inconvenience fee. You know, you lot didn't play like against City at your place like you did against us. It's all love. Still, it would be up to Arsenal also, as even in January, they insisted to keep him. I think he deserves to play. He needs to play. But I understand Arteta, when he wants to keep as many players as possible. Arsenal, like all clubs, are ambitious in big competitions. We'll need good squad depth again next season. So let's see what happens. Let's see what happens indeed. But in relation to everything I've got to speak about at the time of making this video, that's all I've got, people. If there's any other news and emerging news and views and talking points and rumors, you can rest assured your boy will get them out. As usual, make sure you're commenting, you're liking, you're subscribing, boost up the YouTube algorithm. We've got to 60,000 people. So if I had a hat, I'll take it off for you lot, people. I appreciate the support. Let me know your thoughts on everything we've discussed. Stay safe, stay blessed. Peace.